On December 13th, 1775, the governor of Las Californias, Fernando Rivera y Moncada, personally visited the office of Father Serra at Mission San Carlos Borromeo. The governor informed Father Serra that the San Diego mission had been destroyed by the local Kumeyaay tribe, and one of the priests, Father Luis Jaime, had been killed. Mission San Diego de Alcala was the first mission built by Serra in 1767, and he had personally picked Father Jaime to work there. Ironically, the mission had been moved further from the local presidio, or military fort, partially due to the soldiers antagonizing the natives, especially the native women. For this reason, the local presidio said they didn't know about the attack when it happened. The death of Father Jaime, whom Serra had known for years, was graphic. His body was stripped naked, and he was beaten to death. His face and mouth were a bloody pulp. Stripping the body has been interpreted as a protest by the natives against being forced to wear European-style clothes, and hitting the face symbolized that only lies came from his mouth. After the attack, which included burning the mission, the perpetrators fled. Serra pleaded with Rivera y Moncada to not punish the natives when caught, but initially Father Serra didn't need to worry. Patrols were sent out to look for the rebels, but they had apparently melted into the Kumeyaay villages. How did this attack happen? According to surviving documents, 2 Kumeyaay natives named Carlos and Francisco had left the mission on October 2nd, 1775, and did not return. Soldiers were sent on October 11th to bring them back, but they failed to find them. In early November, the commanding officer of the Presidio San Diego, a Captain Ortega, and 12 soldiers accompanied Father Lasuen to found Mission San Juan Capistrano, about 60 miles to the north. On the night of November 4th, at about 1:30 a.m., the mission was attacked. On March 16, 1776, word was received that one of the rebel leaders, Carlos, was hiding in a warehouse that was being used as a church. One of the priests, Father Fuster, a survivor of the Kumeyaay attack, told Rivera y Moncada about Carlos. But Father Fuster said Carlos could not be arrested there according to the tradition of sanctuary in a church. The governor ignored this and entered the church with his sword drawn. He came out with Carlos in custody. Father Fuster immediately declared the governor excommunicated. The governor appealed to Fuster's superior, Junipero Serra. But Serra agreed with Fuster and did not lift the excommunication. Finally, Carlos was released to Fuster, who eventually turned him over to the governor. More of the ringleaders were eventually arrested. The governor planned to exile the rebels to a mission on the Baja Peninsula, but Serra argued against this, saying it would antagonize the Kumeyaay further. Father Serra had also contacted the governor's superior, the Viceroy Antonio Bucareli y Ursua, who had agreed on a more lenient treatment. Eventually, all the rebels were released. The Kumeyaay rebellion ended, and the San Diego mission was rebuilt. But Serra's reputation could not be repaired. His superiors at the College of St. Francis in Mexico City ordered him to stop communicating directly with the viceroy or any government official and should send all requests through the college. Serra had become head of the California missions on the condition that he could handpick all personnel, all missionaries at all the missions. This responsibility was also taken from him, a pretty serious blow to Serra's authority. But even with these setbacks, more missions were founded. San Juan Capistrano was founded in November 1776, Mission Santa Clara de Asís in 1777, and Mission San Buenaventura in 1782. In 1777, Rivera y Moncada was replaced as governor of Las Californias by Felipe de Neva. De Neva was, if anything, more antagonistic to Serra. He wanted to create more pueblos, or civilian towns, which would mean more civilian settlers who would want the land occupied by the missions. This included the pueblo of Nuestra Señora La Reina de Los Angeles, aka Los Angeles, which will be covered in a future video. In 1778, De Neva ordered the natives of each mission to elect a 4-person council, which was granted a voice in the running of the mission. This council consisted of 2 alcaldes, a kind of magistrate, and 2 regidores. The powers of the council included the right to judge and punish crimes committed by mission natives. De Neva apparently believed involving the natives in these decisions would help assimilate them to Spanish culture, but it struck at the very heart of the missions as Serra conceived of them. He imagined they would be a kind of theocracy in which the church would have complete control. Initially, Serra hoped he could persuade these native officials to follow instructions from the priests. The reality was very different. Many of the alcaldes retained traditional practices, including polygamy. As a missionary in Mexico, he had seen many of the Christianized Indians continue their traditional culture with an outer appearance of Christianity. Serra had wanted complete control over the missions in an effort to avoid this situation. In 1782, De Neva was replaced by Pedro Fages, a man who had been governor years before and had been driven from the office partially by Father Serra, so there wasn't much help coming from there. In his final years, Serra complained he had little to do but fill out paperwork, so he tried to visit each mission and speak with the natives as much as possible. Actual missionary work was, after all, why he had left his home in Majorca over 30 years before. Serra had made that journey with 2 fellow Majorcan priests, Juan Crespi and Francisco Palou. Crespi had died a few years before, but Palou was still alive. The priests were pleasantly surprised to hear from Governor Fages that a new mission at Santa Barbara had been approved. Palou traveled to Carmel to talk with Serra about the new mission. He found his old friend, now aged 70, in poor health. Serra's condition took a turn for the worse, and Palou administered the final rites. According to Palou's own account, Serra lied down to rest for a brief period, and when Palou returned to check on him, Serra had died quietly in his sleep. The day was August 28th, 1784. Although more missions would be founded in the next couple of years, we can say that the death of Serra was the end or the beginning of the end of the mission period in California and the beginning of civilian settlement.